Welcome to Big Little Stories. I'm Ivy Sharmetz. My guest today is an author and wellness coach whose life took an unexpected turn when a decision in her 20s led to incarceration and a period of deep personal reckoning. But that experience became the starting point for something very meaningful. Today, Matilde Hernandez is the founder of Dare to Lift It and the author of Beyond These Walls, which talks about confronting shame, rebuilding identity, and learning how to move forward with intention. Thank you so much for being here today, Matilde.
Having me.
Of course.
I'm
Of course.
excited.
I'm excited to talk to you too. And I want to give people a sense. You have this amazing story. I want to give people a sense of what your journey has been like. So we're gonna start at the beginning, right? You grew up in Florida. What was it
Yes.
like? What was it like growing up in Florida?
Oh, Florida for me, living here in Georgia now, felt like I was in a zoo. Nothing bad. It was very fast paced. I was born in Dominican Republic, raised in Florida, which was Miami. And in the 80s, that time frame was totally different. So it was like very fast paced,
Yeah.
an aggressive way of living. And it's an environment. It was the environment that we grew up in. But Florida had his melting pot. It was beautiful. I enjoyed, but I feel like I outgrew it.
But so you were in your 20s. You
In,
seeming
in my,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, in my 30s.
You were in your 30s. Okay, and you seemingly had your life was all together. You had a good job. You were buying your first home. What was that time of your life like?
Oh my God. I was a mother at 16, and at that point, I was finishing high school, and I had issues with dyslexia and comprehension issues. So what I did, I didn't finish, and I started working. So I was working like two, three jobs to raise my daughter. Not only that, I knew I had more in me, but not having mentorship, not having people that can really lead you. Because back then you didn't see that, and if they were, it wasn't in our environment,
Sure.
like really offering it.
Right.
So for me, it was like my mentality was I need to do something totally different. So I put myself in like jobs that even if I didn't know it, I knew that I had it in me that I was going to be the first one there, the last one there,
Yeah.
and I in my soul has always been to help others. So I had that nurturing, like I'm going to come in a job and I'm going to learn. I want them to pick me and do the all the overtime, but I also wanted more. So then I purchased my first home. And then from there, it was just like, okay, I got a job. And I was like, oh my God, they hired me, no high school diploma. And it was an amazing time working for a company and not feeling like, oh my God, I don't have this degree, but I still can get in. But it was the work ethic.
Yeah.
But from there, it was like, I still needed more.
So you talk about wanting more. You started struggling with depression, burnout, unresolved trauma. Um, so you decide to move to Georgia.
Yes.
How did that decision come about for you?
Well, my daughter was already living in Georgia with my sister. And I didn't want to bring her back to where I was living because, again, it was going to be a space where the environment wasn't conducive for her to live there. And I had a son that was already 5. And a lot of, in the area that I was in, either the young boys were stealing cars or they were just not in a place where it would be safe.
Yeah.
So I said the best thing I can do was to move to Georgia because my daughter was already doing good in school and she loved it there. And I was like, why shift her,
Yeah.
And I didn't really have anything going on in Florida. It was the same thing, the same repetitive, working hard and hanging out, which wasn't something that I enjoyed because I knew I still was responsible. I was a mother. Not everybody that was with me was a mother. So from there, I was like, okay, I have to get out of here. I was in a relationship where it wasn't also allowing me to evolve, and it could have been my own dysfunctions. So I
Right.
said, you know what? I have nothing to lose. Yes, I have this house, but I got to get up and go.
Yeah.
It was scary.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was scary.
Were you thinking, you had accomplished so much and at that point in your life had already overcome so many challenges. Was there a part of you that thought I did it once, I can do it again in Georgia, or were you not even in that headspace?
I was not even in the headspace. I just know I've always had the grit inside of me. I felt
Mm,
like I know I can do more. But I also now where I'm at, seeing it, I knew if I had guidance, mentorship, healing, therapy, a space where we can speak and say, because a lot of us are doing more is because we want to be accepted, we want to be
Right.
seen,
Yeah.
and it all brews down for the environment, my home, and that's what it was. I can do more. They don't hear me here, but I know I have more. And it was like this kid inside of me saying, I know I can change this. I know I can change my family. I know the dysfunctions that we're living in is not conducive. I
Right.
can do more. But it was like no tools.
Right. Right. All right. So that is what you're thinking. You can do more. You're moving. Life's going to get better. And then the way you describe it, you made a poor decision.
I made a poor decision. And again, I made at that point I looked at it and wow, really? And to know that making those poor decisions can take you somewhere where it separates you from everything. That was eye opening for me. One, I can see how the system, no matter if you've never made a mistake,
Yeah.
if you did, the system will drag you, depending who you are, where you're from, and it was a journey. It was a journey because I've never expected myself to ever make a mistake like that.
So, but that's what's so fascinating to me about this particular part of the story, and I think this is so relatable to so many people, because to hear what your intentions were, it sounded like this is going to be great. Like you're going to do it, you're going to be a success, you're making the change, and then you know share as much as you want. You don't have to share, anything else. But just the idea that a series of poor decisions can have that drastic of an impact on your life, that to me it seems like there must have been a shock involved to it, to go from I'm going to make this new life, I'm going to be better than I am right now, to oh my gosh, what have I done? What was that shift like?
What was that shift like? Let me take myself there. This shift, again, I my big hope was okay. I'm going to move to Georgia. I had interviewed from the job that I was in working for T-Mobile, and I had a job there, and they were like, you can't get no transfer. I was like, oh, I'm going to get a transfer. So I went and interviewed, and they hired me. So
Wow.
I said, okay, I can leave now.
Yeah.
I can work part time. But again, when you shift from one position to another, the cut of pay is different.
Yeah.
So me moving to Georgia saying, okay, I'm living with my sister. I had my own house. I had to really change my mindset within and say, you know what, this is temporary. It was scary. It was
Sure.
scary because, again, you don't have opportunities like that. And not knowing, again, not having someone that can guide you,
Yeah.
you're walking alone.
Yeah.
So, in a sense of, for me, when I made that mistake, it was like, wow,
Yeah.
you're here right now, not even having someone that can even guide you, because when you make mistakes or they take you through a journey that you have to go to court, I was just there like, okay, because I never thought it was gonna change to head to prison
Right.
because I never been in trouble. But again, when I did my homework, there was presidential year. There's a lot of different things that they pull, what they need to do. And I was like, oh, that's how they imprison people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I never made a mistake. And people were like, you should have just got probation. I was like, I don't know. So when I got there and so, it allowed me the time. I had time to finish my bachelor's degree because I was able to move to Georgia, go into school, got my bachelor's degree,
Wow.
pursuing my master's degree. And at that point, here they come. We're going to court. And I'm like, oh my God. I thought they forgot about me because it took almost 3 years.
Wow.
But within those 3 years of waiting, because again, I knew I made a mistake.
The,
I
the,
was
mi-
in school.
the mistake that you made, were there people, did you make it with other people, and was it part of, did they get in
It
trouble first, or the fact that you said that it took
no,
3 years?
it was a slow process. So it was in a store. So it was basically more people. But at that point, again, because I don't watch TV, and I said, oh yes, I did an upgrade. Yes, I did this. They never even did my Miranda rights, and I didn't know about all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Wow.
was like, oh yeah, I did this upgrade. And because I said yes, I did this upgrade at the store, nothing behind it. Everything that happened in the store was plugged into me.
Oh, wow.
And it took so long for me to even navigate because the story gets better. It is a story that I'm so happy to be here because I accepted a plea not knowing. I was given a public defender, and those public defenders don't walk you through anything. At the last minute, he was saying, "Well, you need to get this." I said, "But it didn't happen this way." And me, at that point, I was dealing with mental health severely. I was on medication and I was depressed. So I was just going to court and say, I just want to get over it. So I'll
Right.
sit there and I wouldn't say anything. One, I didn't know what to say. I felt shameful. They didn't know me. They just, it was based on what they read. So at the last minute, I hired an attorney, paid $5,000. And this attorney was like, well, I can get you through here. The DA, he's a wuss, and he's scared of the judge, la la la. So if you take this plea, and I'm like, oh, okay. He never even asked what happened. He just took my money.
Yeah.
I wasn't even a citizen.
Oh, that's right. Um, I'm fascinated by something that I read, which said that when you were incarcerated, you found stillness.
Oh
And
my God.
it's that concept is fascinating to me because I think that most people would think of the trauma and the chaos that comes with being imprisoned, and you say that's where you found stillness. How?
So it started from before I was transported to the state prison. Every room I went into, the word was in the room. I was raised as a Catholic. I didn't even know how to read the Bible in English. It was always in Spanish. So I understood it in Spanish. And there was always someone in that room and say, well, I'll help you read it this way so I can comprehend. Again, I was dealing with comprehension. I was like, okay, I can read this in Spanish.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I was transported to the state prison here in Georgia, again, every room I went to, and there was a young lady that was in the room with me, and she didn't know English that much. And, we talked. And she said, maybe you can talk to the Holy Spirit. And I said, well, who's that? She said, I'm going to show you. And no lie, ever since then, I was like, God, I'm going to give you this time. If you give me peace through this journey, I give you my kids, my business, everything I need. And in February 2008, February 24, 2008, I heard the still voice said, I never left you. And I looked up and I said, well, who's that? And I was told I was going to be out in June. So I said, okay, all right. He said he never left me. And it was like a air, because I knew who I was when I went in there.
Yeah.
He told me it was going to be you and I. I already had a dream that this was going to happen exactly the way it was going to happen. I just didn't know that I was going to be gone. So it felt like I was in another land just serving. So in there, I was serving. Some of the women there never had visitation. I had visitation every week.
Wow.
And I had family that were coming and just giving me, telling me what the outside was. And God said, I don't want you to involve yourself because it's you and I here. So I helped some of my friends. I said, you guys never been out to visitation. So I asked my family, can I put some people so you guys can visit them? Because they'd never been out to visitation. So I shared my visitation with friends. I made books weekly. My family was able to send me to be able to eat. I shared. For me, it was a place where I was giving back in where they said where people can go crazy. I knew who I was. I knew who I was. I had a business already going, so I knew I was going to help others.
Yeah, it's almost like that. It sounds almost weird to say, but it's almost like that time there, all of the things that were challenges in your life were sort of removed, and it allowed you just to be with yourself and discover yourself with yourself and discover your purpose. I love this. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, I want to talk about how you transformed your life when you got your freedom and how you are now doing that to help so many other people. And it's an incredible story. We'll have a little more with Matilde. We'll be right back. So, Matilda, you eventually are released from incarceration. And you say, and I love this quote, I'm going to read it. You say, many people leave incarceration physically free, but remain imprisoned internally by shame, trauma, and lack of support. How were you able to navigate your release and turn it into something so meaningful?
For me, I already had a business and I also have family. Not that they knew how to actually walk me through the journey of rebuilding, because again, a lot of us are still dealing with dysfunction. It took me a while to be able to even take in that, wow, you're free now. Because again, when you're incarcerated, you have all these stories that you're going to do this and you're going to do
Right.
that, but you're not ready to come home and say, oh, now you got to face, you got to get out. They give you only a whole entire day to go meet up with your probation officer. Then from there, they send you, because if you're dealing with mental health, they'll send you to a location. All that cost. And some people, I was able to get myself right back and be able to assist with probation, but they never walked us through. This is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to have. It's stated that they have assistance for everyone, but it wasn't. For me, it was me going back and trying to rebuild my business again and bringing myself internally back up to be able to face that I'm free now. I'm
Yeah.
not incarcerated, but
And
shame kept me quiet.
so, yeah, shame is such an interesting thing that we all deal with it in various degrees, right? I
Yes.
think you can carry shame even if you've never been incarcerated, or even if you've never been caught doing the thing that makes you shameful. People carry shame with them. How do you talk to people about dealing with shame?
Well, for me, I've learned forgiveness, forgiving
Mm,
yourself for the things that try to break you,
yeah,
and turning those into pivotal moments where you can now use those experiences to share with someone, because our goal is to help someone else to be free.
mm,
I went through it, but I know it wasn't for me, it was for others, because I knew I was going to meet someone else that may be going through the same experience or something totally different.
yeah.
And that was my opportunity to give them that space, the
It's
tools that I've learned.
it's hitting me that you're saying that, because I've always thought that I think on some level the meaning of life, the reason why we go through things is so that we can then help other people go through those things that we've experienced, and you are living proof of that. Talk to me about Dare to Lift It and that organization that you've created, and the kind of work that you do.
Yes, I created Dare to Lift It for people that have been incarcerated, not only in a facility, but also a mindset, because I do leadership coaching and wellness. For me, incarceration, again, is not just a facility, but for the people that have been incarcerated, it's taking them through a journey for personal growth, healing, restoration, so they can then reintegrate. Because, yeah, they're coming out from reentry, but their reintegration time takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time to find mentors. It takes time to heal, to reconnect with your family. So I created spaces where they can take a SWOT analysis, which is called the Soul Care SWOT, which
Hmm.
is one of the offers that I give them. And it just allows them to find the strengths where they're at today. And from there, I can help them navigate what their next is like.
Yeah.
If it's building a business,
Is the stigma, is there a stigma that is hard to overcome sometimes? You hear someone was incarcerated.
yes.
If you don't get to know that person, maybe you just think of them as, oh, they're not a good person because they did
There,
something bad.
there is a huge stigma. One that I've encountered and honestly was heartbreaking. You can even get a life insurance if you are in probation. Being able to get rental property.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things. Not only that, I don't think the system assesses anyone at times, or maybe I slipped through the crack and I was supposed to go through this, but they don't even assess if you are native, like, are you American or not? Because I was dealing with having the issue with incarceration, right? And they didn't know if I was a citizen, and I
Right.
wasn't. So that there is another place of shame. So for me, it was like helping them understand that it is a journey, personally growing, understanding that it's temporary, that it's not going to happen forever. And now that I have the tools and the experience of what I've been through, it's helping them navigate with attorneys, the things that can help them get to where they're going.
I want to mention also, we're running out of time, but I also want to mention your book, Beyond These Walls.
Yes.
What made you decide to write a book? And the book is not just for people who have been incarcerated. That book is really for anyone who is going through a period of any kind of transition in their life, who wants to lean in with intention to whatever the next chapter is.
Yes. I decided to write Beyond These Walls because we create a lot of walls. And again, for me, I was still hiding in shame, dimming my own light, overthinking, will they hire me because of my background? And Beyond These Walls was, okay, this happened to you, but it's not happening now. So what are we going to do with what we've been through? And it was giving them steps to personally grow, to reflect, to heal, and also a place where they can understand that they will have assistance. If they pick up the book, I will give them workshops. And there's a lot of different things, but it was more to really assess the inner core of this happened, now what?
Yeah.
And for me, it happened to me, but it's helped me.
Matilde, when I first had the idea for the show, one of the things that I wanted to make sure the show was always about, because I believe that the power of storytelling is that it inspires, it educates, and it builds community. And I just want to share that when we chatted briefly before this interview a couple days ago, and you said to me, I think you actually wrote it in an email, you said you can ask whatever brings hope to the audience. And I want to be honest with you and tell you that actually made me I'm tearing up even now just thinking about this, because that to me is what we're here for, right? We're here to share what we've been through, who we are, in the hope that we help someone else just by sharing our story and validating what we've been through. So thank you so much for being
I
open
thank you.
and honest.
I
Amazing.
thank you so much.
Of course. So we end each of these conversations with something we call 3 big little questions, just a quick little way to get to know people a little bit better. So the first question is, how do you get yourself out of a bad mood?
Oh, me. How do I get myself out of a bad mood? My foot hits the ground, the enemy's already scared. So for me, music, exercising, I know that it's in me to get back up. But so when I have down days, I shake it off. I remember where I've been and where I'm at today. So it's an opportunity for me to just shine again.
I'm gonna wait.
I'm always joyful.
I want to write that down. Once my feet hit the ground, the enemy is already
The
scared.
enemy he's scared because I
love
am
it.
going out here to share the freedom,
Yeah, of course. What's your go-to karaoke song?
If I was doing karaoke, because I'm not a good singer, but I'm not. I love Respect,
Okay.
the song Respect. I like a lot of bachata music, which is Hispanic music.
Yeah.
But I'm not a good singer because of my ADHD. I'm more of a beat girl, so I love music. I'd
All right.
rather dance.
Okay. And then what is one of your favorite spots in Georgia? You live in Georgia. What's one of your favorite spots in Georgia?
Yes. One of my favorite spots of many, it's Amicalola Falls. I love hiking, and it's just a beautiful scene that a lot of people should come visit.
Matilde, you are doing amazing work. Thank you so, so much for taking the time to be here. I hope people check out what's the website?
It's Dare to Lift It.
Yep. And the name of the book is Beyond These Walls. Check the book out. Find it. It is a great read. It's so helpful. We can all learn something from it. We can all learn something from you. Thank you for everything that you're doing to make the world a better place, Matilde. We appreciate it.
And thank you so much for this opportunity and this space to be able to tell my story. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much. We will talk soon for sure. And that will do it for today's Big Little Stories. Be sure to check us out on Instagram at Big Little Stories Show. I'm Ivy Sharmetz. I'll talk to you next time.